Hi, Megan here with my transformational Tuesday again. As you know, this is a time that I like to introduce somebody to you who's had an amazing transformation. And this week we have the beautiful Janene Babauskis, all the way
Hi.
from Melbourne. Thanks for joining us, Janene.
Oh, that's a pleasure, Megan. Thanks for the invite. It's great to be here.
Lovely. Now, I'm going to get straight into it because I don't want to take too much time from you or anybody else. But I'm just wondering, because a lot of people here aren't going to even know who you are, can you just give us a little bit of a quick rundown as to who you are and maybe tell us what life was like before your transformation, please?
Yeah, so I live in Melbourne, Australia, and most of my life, I started off in the beauty industry, and I discovered very quickly that because of my own poor health as a teenager, that I was very interested in, like, understanding a lot more about my body and how it worked, and what sort of things would help me to wellness. And so that was just a personal interest of mine. But what I discovered in the beauty industry was that I was constantly working with people's external well-being barometers like hair and skin.
Yeah.
So I'd be coaching my clients around digestion and acid alkaline and up, getting their mineral profiles up and hydration and all of those kind of things. So after doing that for, I don't know, 10 years in the beauty industry, I moved over into the well-being industry. And that's where I dedicated my learning, and my time was working with people and educating them around how they could improve their health and well-being. And that went on for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a 10-year stint with a company that brought Thermomix to Australia. And why I love that is because a lot of my training I did with people and coaching was all about getting back to basics, making your food from scratch, knowing what's in your food. And when I saw the Thermomix, it's like, oh my goodness, if people want a solution to quick, easy meal preparation, healthy, here it is. So I dedicated 10 years to that. And, probably the last 3 years of that was when the rot started to set in.
Mm.
There were things about the company that didn't work for me, the ethos, there was a misalignment for me. And I'd done very well financially in that company. And as a result of that, the bank loaned me a lot of money. And I was able to completely gut my house, completely renovate it, buy another property. And so, I was servicing a very big loan,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't a
Yeah,
problem while I was still with the company.
for sure.
Now, I had the capacity to work days without sleeping. And that's what it required when you're pioneering a new product a new product coming to Australia. When you're one of the pioneers, I had the ability to work crazy hours, and we really pushed myself. And of course, towards the end of 10 years of doing that, it all caught up with me. And
Yeah.
also the philosophy of the company caught up with me as well.
Right.
And I resigned. And
Wow, that's
overnight,
massive.
yep, it's massive. And you know what? It's a direct selling business model, which I don't recommend, because all that work I did, basically, I handed that whole income to somebody else.
Wow, wow, that's an enormous step, which actually sort of brings me to my next question, was about why you underwent this big change. So obviously you've made this decision. What prompted that big decision? We've heard
Well,
that you were unhappy with the ethos and with what was going on. But what else was there going on for you, Janene, that sort of prompted this big decision to change? And how did that look? How did that look for you?
well, look, really, it was a heart-based choice to leave, right? Because I knew it was going to be financially challenging, but I also trusted that, I'm not afraid of hard work. I've got many, many skills to my bow, and I'll create the next thing. Um, and also physically, by now, I'm starting to feel burnt out. And
Right. So you were putting like,
it was like, well, that's okay because I have the skill set. I know what to do to get well again. And so when I left, I started another business. And this time it was teaching people how to cook and creating menus. And I went on the road with a cooking school, on-road cooking school.
wow.
Super, super challenging in many more ways than you can imagine. But anyway, I was dedicated to it. I loved it. And then that I grew, that was very tiresome. And we decided, my daughter and all my daughters then decided it's time to have our own cooking school. So we set up a cooking school and I started running all the classes from one venue, which was like extraordinary. Because, I didn't have to be slapping ingredients and books and goodness knows and all the equipment all over the countryside. But it became apparent that, two things became apparent. Number one, that there weren't enough hours in the day for me to earn the kind of income I needed to service this huge loan.
Right.
Because I had no leverage. I had a skill set where we couldn't get anybody else in. So I wasn't able to duplicate myself. I had no leverage. So if I wasn't in front of a class teaching, I wasn't earning any money. And I earned good money, but it still wasn't enough. And the other thing was that all the things I knew to get well weren't working. So the burnout persisted, the joint trauma persisted from those years in my previous career. And I was a health practitioner. I had all the skills, but something was missing. So, like maybe the joint trauma got better, but it still wasn't completely healing. And it started to worry me. And also because of the burnout, life was a bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And it just compounded. It got worse and worse. And then, of course, financially, I was going backwards $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week, that's $50,000 a year. So, of course, the stress of that was starting to really, really build up. And, I went to India for a month. I worked with Ayurvedic doctors, thought, go to the other side of the world, surely that will help. No, I just came back just as exhausted as when I went, being in that environment for a month, it just really knocked me around.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was a turning point.
Yeah. And can I what I'm hearing from you with all of that you've been through is you've come to a point in your life where there's two really big issues, and I think it's pertinent to the world today what those big issues are, because we've all in this current climate become very aware of it, is that health is paramount to being able to do what you want to do on a functional day-to-day basis. And money, we all need money. We need a business, and we need something that we can perhaps manipulate and use ourselves, because a lot of people are losing jobs for decisions that they're making at this present time in the world. So maybe if you can speak into that, you've gone through this change. How is that? What is life now like for you that you've changed? Now, maybe just talk a little bit about what you decided to do, and tell us how that is now.
Well, leverage is really important. So I've owned a lot of businesses in my time. I've owned beauty salons and I've owned businesses in the health industry. I will never want to go into that model again. Not with the model of multi-level marketing, network marketing, whatever you want to call it. And it wasn't foreign to me, because years ago I sourced very unique products for my clients, like one-offs. There was new technology around. No one else was doing it in either industry. All those products were distributed with a word of mouth model. So I got introduced to it, I don't know, maybe 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And what I learned very quickly, that unique products, unique technology requires education and support. So I loved that model, because that's how those kind of products get to market. So but I'd never done it seriously in terms of building it as a business. I just utilized the product, sourced the products for my client. It was only when I went into direct selling that I really developed my skill set in the industry. However, like I said, it wasn't a business. Even though you were told you were in a business, when you left, you had nothing to sell. You had no income. So it was gone overnight.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's the cruncher. It's all about mindset. And I know that more than anybody. But my level of dysfunction, I looked functional on the outside, but when I was at home, I'd just sit in a chair and stare at the wall. I was burnt out. I was exhausted.
Wow.
And I was starting to feel really sad. And I was a source of worry for my daughters rather than a source of inspiration. Because what was happening then, I was getting to a point where I thought I'm going to be forced to sell my house. And I didn't want that. Like, there's no choice in that. Like, it's not the end of the world, but I didn't sign up for that. That wasn't in my vision. So mindset is key. I had all the tools and I wasn't using it. So a friend of mine suggested that him and I both facilitate a Bob Proctor program, You Were Born Rich, for 10 other people to help those people achieve what they want in life. And as a result of working with them and helping them, that we actually work on our own lives. So that's how it all started. Thank goodness that friend stepping up and having that suggestion for me, Megan. So anyway, I'll shorten the story. So we set up the program to run for 9 months. And 4 months in, we, set one of those outrageous goals, one of those goals you have no idea how you're going to achieve, right?
Yeah, love it.
Set the goal. The goal was I wanted to be increasing my income by $1,000 a week. I didn't know where it was going to come from, but it seemed like it's not possible. So that's a good goal to set, right?
Yeah.
About a month after that, I received a message on Facebook. I didn't even know people could message you on Facebook. I didn't even do Facebook, right? I'm in front of my computer and a little message popped up on the right-hand side and said, Cheryl Penrose has sent you a message. And I'm like, Cheryl? And how is she messaging me on my computer? I had no idea. But I was there at that moment, Megan, and there's no coincidence, there's no mistakes about this, right?
Yeah.
And I clicked on it and up came this message from Cheryl. And it was like, listen, there's a new health product that's come to Australia. I think you'd be really interested. That's all she said.
Wow.
But you know what? It was all just the timing. And I'm going, okay, click on the link. And she had a link there with some research that had been done. And I started to get goosebumps. Yep. So I called her straight away and went, what is it? I want to know more about it. She said, I have no idea how to answer any of your questions. I'm just going to connect you up with some amazing people that can answer your questions. Yeah. So literally that's how it happened. Like within 24 hours, I'd had all my questions answered. I ordered in this product, this molecular technology that works on the cells. And I just applied it. It was the gel then. We had from the outside in. I applied the gel to the troublesome parts of my body twice a day. That's what they said to do.
Yeah.
But the other thing, Megan, I was turning 60, and for the first time in my life, I actually looked my age. I'd never looked my age. And I know if you're looking rusty on the outside, you're rusting out on the inside as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And boy, did I feel it, right?
So how long did it take you to get a turnaround? Because we're looking at you now, and I wouldn't even say you look 60 now, and this is, I don't know how long ago.
I'm 67 now.
There you go. Wow. And so how long did it take for you to look and feel differently?
Okay, so within 2 weeks, I started, all my joint trauma had gone. So wow. I had complete range of movement back. I couldn't activate any discomfort. Gone in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, I've been struggling with that for 5 years. So very quickly I got some feedback. Hey, this stuff works. Yeah. I had sun trauma on my nose, that kind of stuff that you need to get some invasive procedure done, which I was staying away from that. That just sloughed off. It just disappeared in 2 weeks. 6 weeks later, I had 3 clients come. And the whole 3 of them, and one of them's got a scientific background, the whole 3 asked in the same week, have you been to Thailand since we last saw you? And I go, what do you mean? They go, you look younger. Yeah. Anyway, I just laughed because I could see it, the transformation going on in the mirror. Now, what was also interesting, yes, I looked younger. Was winding back the clock. So my skin cells were turning over like they did maybe, 5 or 10 years earlier. Yeah. The other thing that was really interesting, my energy shifted. I started to notice I was excited. I had my mojo back, and I went to visit 3 friends at the 6-week mark. Two of them were naturopaths. The other one works in the wellbeing space. Hadn't seen them, for probably 2 months, and they went, "Oh my God, what are you on? You look different. You feel different." And I said, "I'm so glad you asked. I've got something really exciting to share with you," because we're all health practitioners and none of us knew about this technology.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So 6 weeks, I'm going to say 6, everything transformed. And even things that I wasn't expecting, Megan, because I was, running cooking classes. Knees aren't the best design. And, I was putting it on my knees and the backs of my knees to help the integrity there. And all the veins at the backs of my knees disappeared, and I'd had them for decades.
Wow. Awesome.
So tights in summer were no longer.
Well, thank God.
I mean, seriously. And you think Melbourne's not that hot. We have hot days down here. But that was complete surprise, right?
Yeah.
So I put it on head to toe, and the more I use it, the more flexible I become, the more areas I can reach. And I do some pretty hefty stints in the garden with my daughter, like lifting heavy rocks and digging up really heavy stuff. And I know I can, she just looks at me and says, "I can't believe you just did that." Yeah. I said, "Well, I've got this helper." I've got something that keeps my cells young, and the difference is outstanding. And, so you can be aging backwards while you get older. Who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that? And clearly you've come to a point, then you've got this amazing experience and results. And I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have shut up about it then, would you? You would have been wanting to tell everybody about it.
It's just natural, If I love something and I discover something, I have big networks of people. I've done a lot of things in my life, and I keep connected with a lot of people. Yeah, of course I wanted them to know about it. But the other thing, Megan, that you referenced was, so I started using the product in January. I said, I'm not going to be sharing this until I've had a result. So 6 weeks later was when I started sharing it. So that was mid-February. By 1st of May, my income from just saying to people, "Hey, I found something I love. I think you might be interested," was $1,000 a week. And that was the same month that the course ended, the Born Rich program.
Wow. Tommy.
So, it was a transformation. It was such a transformation. I was just so excited, and I was really skeptical there'd be something else on the planet I'd want to dedicate my life to.
Yeah.
So a couple of years later, I closed down the cooking school. I then started another business for another income stream. I did that for 2 years and then closed that down. And now I do this technology full time.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What I love about this as well is, again, coming back to our current climate, what would your life have looked like if you'd had a traditional business over the last 2 years, knowing that you're in Melbourne and sitting in very long lockdowns and not being able to do a whole lot?
Well, everywhere you walk around Melbourne, there's shops with closed, they're never coming back. There's for rent signs on them. They never, I just can't even imagine how those people, where they are today, what's their life like? Whereas, we've pivoted a little bit. We used to do live events, but no, everything's done online. We do events online all the time. All my meetings are online. I used to do a lot of it online anyway, because even though some of my people are in Melbourne, why would I drive an hour for a meeting and then drive home again when we can connect with, these kind of platforms like Zoom and what we're on today? So we just do a bit more of that.
Yeah.
And it's just it's business as usual. Business as usual. And because it's a global business, we can, I've got somebody I'm working with tonight from the US who will be on the call. It could be, I've got people in the UK, I've got people in the Philippines, got people in New Zealand, and we just connect up like we are now and chat. There's no distance, there's no barriers. And I just love it. And you know what? Justin was saying today to me, one of my mentors, that online businesses have increased by 44% in this last 12 months. Now, not necessarily this model, but people are doing business online. We've all had to pivot and move with these times.
Yeah.
But I had a business that I could do that with. I'm not reliant on passing trade where I've been shut down.
Yeah. And look at you. That's been a massive pivot from you, from how did I even get a message on my computer to sitting here talking to me. And I know that you run Zooms and you're amazing. You've got the technology down pat. So,
well, it's been a great model for personally developing even more, but also learning all those lovely business skills. And,
yeah.
you know, we were laughing today on a Zoom because now I'm teaching people how to do social media, and I still don't understand social media like people do, but what I understand is how you connect with people. And it's the same as whether I'm doing it online on Facebook or whether I was meeting somebody down the street.
Yeah.
And I think when you bring it all back to that, that's really critical and key with people, because a lot of people have done formal courses on it, but they never got going with it. And it's because it doesn't feel authentic to them.
Yeah. And you can do a course and never use things. I mean, I'm probably a classic example of that. How many courses I've done in my life, and you only use snippets. You know, you really have to dedicate yourself to using.
Yeah, and look, snippets is still good, but it doesn't get them over that hump of getting started. Once you get them started with them just being authentic and understanding that's the key, then they can add in those few other things they've learned. Yeah. So look, it's a great industry for personal development, for developing yourself, you know, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and, you know, getting out there and getting out on the skinny branches, but you're not on your own. You've got fabulous support under you. That's the other thing that's so beautiful about this model.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't have to have any type of education or any background. You could be any age, as long as you're willing to be coachable and learn and reach out for help.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that have come on board, they don't take advantage of the system and getting that help, and they fail.
Yeah. And it's all there, isn't it? It's all there.
It's all there, and it doesn't cost you anything. Just you going, hey, I need help with this, you know, and that can you help me with this? That's all it requires, and that being coachable is important too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Janene. I'm going to ask you one last quick question.
Go for it.
To wrap it up. And the question is, I usually ask people at the end is what is the biggest lesson you've learned from the experience? But you might want to just maybe give us the biggest takeaway from, or lesson learned or takeaway from the whole experience of changing your life around to be traveling in a different direction.
Well, yeah, I think to never have regrets. There's always lots to learn. Mindset is critical for everything you do. Because we have these collection of habits and paradigms, and they run your life, but some of them don't serve you, right? Some of them are not serving you. And if you ever get yourself into a place like I did, where I just felt like I was drowning, you know, and the skill set was all about, again, you know, like reaching out and working collectively with people. So connecting back with people and looking at what can I contribute to these people is what gave me my life back.
Beautiful.
So it is all about contributing and growing, you know, and working with your mindset, because everything lives in your head.
Yeah, it sure does. It
sure does. So if you want to transform something, you got to transform what you're telling yourself.
Yeah. Get it out of the head.
Yeah, sure. And there's skill sets to learn, and use your head for that, because, you know, you've got to upgrade skill sets, learn skill sets. But it's really what's going on at the unconscious level, which is what's filtering in from what you're telling yourself on a conscious level. So they are connected. There's so many great programs around. You know, get your personal development, get into a community of like-minded people and support each other and lift each other up and go for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And one last thing. I've met incredible people on this journey. Thank you. You're one of them.
Oh, thank you. And likewise, Janene, fabulous. And I just wanted to say too, to finish up, if anybody's interested in seeing Janene tonight, 7:30 Brisbane time, is that
Yep,
you?
that's right.
Yep.
Yep.
Then just send me, just pop a message in below with the thing, and I can send you a link, or Janene can. All right.
Gorgeous. Look forward to seeing you on tonight.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Janene.
Thanks. Thanks, Megan. Bye, everybody.
Bye.